Step number 1, make sure that the employees are trained, that they are aware of GDPR. Make sure also the shareholders and the directors in the organisation are GDPR aware, because once they become GDPR aware, they'll be able to understand what needs to be done. Number 2, you also have to ascertain where the personal data comes from. You actually hold it in your organisation. Where does it come from? Where does it sit in the organisation, and where does it go to? And then you need to understand whether you actually are processing the personal data in line with the key principles of the General Data Protection Regulation. You may have to do an information audit, a gap analysis, a privacy impact assessment, etc. Another aspect you need to bear in mind is that when you take personal data from a data subject, then you also have to make sure that you provide a privacy notice at the time the personal data is being taken. There are a lot of data subject rights. There are enhanced data subject rights as well. Be careful, make sure you know how to respond to those data subject rights. There's no point knowing about them, writing about them in the privacy notice, but then not knowing how to actually practically implement them in your organisation. Security measures. You need to incorporate security measures appropriate to the risks. That doesn't mean you spend a fortune. You look at what you have at the moment and then maybe enhance it a little. You have to make sure where the personal data lies in filing systems, automated systems, that it is secure. When dealing with children, be absolutely careful. You may obviously require the consent of the parent or the actual legal guardian before you actually process the personal data. So please bear this in mind. If there is a personal data breach, do you have in your organisations the facilities to actually deal with it? Can you detect, report, investigate the personal data breach? If it's a high risk, what do you do? Well, you need to inform the supervisory authority straight away within 72 hours. Make sure there is somebody who deals with this. Another aspect you need to bear in mind is, do you need a data protection officer? In certain organisations you may need it, in certain organisations you may not, so you have to find that out. Also, privacy impact assessment is generally something you should do, which gives you an idea of the personal data you process and whether you comply with the key principles. Also, and finally, the most important aspect is if you're a controller, then you have to mitigate your risks. Make sure that there is a controller processor contract in place, and also make sure that you have a controller processor contract in place if the personal data is being transferred to a third country. So thank you for tuning in.